Unbelievable radio program with Justin Brierley, famous British radio program. And we heard him on there, and so we decided to call him up and do him on our show. And so we did 2 episodes. You can get him at redemptionradio.podbean.com. Atheist Brett Strong. Here are some more of the discussion on the issue of morality. The beginning of the show we did with him, he said there is no morality. There is no morality, and we are just animals. That's what he says. And then now here he is arguing for morality as personal preference and then for societal convention. By the way, what does it mean, societal convention? Everyone gets together and determines what is good, what is evil. Yeah, exactly. We determine what's good and what's evil. Here is, once again, Brett Strong.
A personal preference, but when you get the majority of people agreeing upon a certain thing, then that becomes the law of the day. So
okay, so what you're saying then I'm trying to reason through what you're saying in a coherent way. First, you said it was personal preference. Then you said it was societal convention. So
No,
if it's societal convention, then that means you're saying that society determines what is good or bad, what's evil or not evil. And so if that's the case, then given that, it's not really wrong to rape a person, is it?
If the society one lives in allows it, then you can do it. That's just the way it is.
Thank you very much. So your atheism has led you to a worldview where rape is not really wrong, theft is not really wrong. There are no real objective standards of good or evil. You really are actually displaying now the ultimate outcome of atheism, that it leads to no foundation, coherent, cogent foundation for morality, because it's just what someone wants to do. For example, given your atheism, what you've just given me, I have no moral complaint against Hitler. Hitler had the might to do what he did. The German people went along with him. They thought the Jews were non-persons. They look like people. They're not people. They're Jews. And based on that, he was fine. Correct?
Oh, yeah. In his society, he was fine. Absolutely.
Right. So that's good. I appreciate, though, the one thing I do respect about what you just answered is that you are being honest with where your atheism brings you. But here's what I want to say to you, Brett. You won't live that way. And there we go. So that was a portion from that discussion. Powerful, right? Talk about that, guys. Colin, you can jump in here, too. What do you guys think?
I thought it was honest. Yeah. Colin, you just wait. I'm talking.
It's just atrocious what it really leads to. And unfortunately, there are actually atheists who wish to live consistently with that, like Hitler. And I don't even know what to say to that. At that point in time, what do you do?
Powerful admission. And here's the thing I think is important for everyone to pay attention to on that. And this is obviously by the grace of God. But pay attention to the difference between this kind of discussion we had with Brett Strong on the show and the discussion he had with a Christian on the Unbelievable radio program. He got a chance to complain and to criticize God and all the rest. And then when you start pushing on his foundations and you start asking to look at the man behind the curtain, you begin to see the collapse of atheism.
Well, and that's what always has stuck out to me about this type of argument is why are you so upset about what the Christian says is right or wrong? Why are you upset about why? As soon as you start to press them on the point, it's like, oh, but we'll look at what happened here in the Bible. We'll look at this and starting to make moral claims. Well, why does that bother you if it's a societal determination at that time that was okay, even though we know that not to be the case? So it's just a lot of inconsistency, a lot of, he used the word mature a lot. It's like, well, once people reach a mature, well, what are you inferring by saying that? Your level of maturity? Are you determining what's mature? What if somebody else says that what you're doing is immature? So it's just a circular, unreasonable, argument to make, which ultimately falls apart.
Yeah, Romans 1 says their thoughts become futile. Professing to be wise, they become fools. And here's a man professing to be wise, writing absurd stuff about Jesus on his website and just a really silly book and just terrible reasoning. And he cannot even get a grip on his belief as to whether or not there's even a foundation for ethics. He says there is no morality, and then he starts complaining about what Christians are doing. I mean, when you come on a radio program and you say there's no morality, there's no oughts, and then you start complaining about what some supposed slave master did to somebody, you start throwing these things out about Paul being evil and all the rest, you just show the absolute collapse of your position. You cannot open your mouth about moral complaint when you've already taken it away from somebody. And that's what atheism is left with. Joy, you have any commentary on the Be Strong episode? Were you in the studio for the Be Strong? You were.
I don't know if I was. Didn't we have him on a few times?
We had him on twice. I think we did both shows back to back. You were on both shows.
Okay, yeah. Then I was. I didn't know for sure if I was on that exact. episode. I was interested by him because he claims to not believe in morality, but he believes specifically in immaterial logic. You remember he tried to...
Yeah. That's right.
So that I'm still confused by that guy.
No, so am I. Be strong.
He's
You're
a
not the only
character.
one.
Yeah. All right, guys, here we go. Last segment today. We're going to talk more about some interesting discussions that need to be had with atheists and your unbelieving friends. And so this is more from atheist Brett Strong on Redemption Radio. The question I wanted to ask you was, it's interesting. I never heard anybody actually describe laws of logic in this way. That most people would say that laws of logic are obviously conceptual in nature. They're more abstract laws. They are immaterial. But here's the question I would ask you. Are laws of logic in your atheist conception, are they necessary? Are they unchanging?
Oh, they're very necessary, because without logic, you can't live in reality.
Okay, so given that you don't believe in...
Laws of logic are absolutely necessary for one's life to be able to live it healthy and prosperous. Absolutely,
okay.
I agree.
So given you are an atheist and you don't believe God created you and that you're not in his image, he didn't create us, that the God of the Bible is not who he says he is, given that you reject that, can you tell me how in your atheism you can get immaterial, universal, invariant, necessary laws?
Oh, like we discussed before, I can't answer everything, neither do I try to answer everything. Like my wife.
Isn't that amazing? Mm-hmm. Here is a guy who has a website criticizing Christians and criticizing Jesus and everything else, and you ask him the most simple question. It may sound complex with words like invariant. Listen, invariant means unchanging, okay? Immaterial, not made of matter, okay? Universal, they hold everywhere, those sorts of things. But the interesting thing here is it's such a simple bottom line issue. Reason, logic, is it important? Is it universal? Is it an unchanging thing? And you press the unbeliever who spends his life attacking Jesus and his church on the issue of logic, and he can't even answer the most basic part of life, logic, reasoning. You say, how does your worldview as an atheist give us these things that you constantly chastise people about all the time? Give it to me. He's like, well, I don't know. I don't have an answer, and neither do I try. The absurdity of atheism. Right. And I want to say, Christians, we are much better off when we come at the unbeliever in this way, attacking their foundations, because we, in fact, do have a justification for our appeal to logic. At the bottom of a logical appeal is an appeal to honesty and integrity, to holding to what is real and true. We have a basis for immaterial entities in our worldview. We have a basis for demanding that another person hold to consistency, because God himself is the very standard of reasoning and logic. We have the whole thing, the whole worldview. The unbeliever has only a basic appeal to because. That's it.
Well,
right.
Yeah, that's just the way it is.
Just the way it is.
Right.
But you're so illogical and stupid. Is basic on how it falls. So, Colin, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's always funny when an atheist says that, because their criticism to us is that, well, you guys can't answer these questions about science and philosophy, and really the fact is that they can't answer the basic questions. Right.
That's right. And they don't have a worldview that can make sense of what they are doing. Hear that. Right. The unbeliever does not have a worldview or framework that can make sense of what they are doing and saying. And it only in the end of all of this discussion, we want to get this, it just displays the hostility and enmity with God that they have in every area of every point of contact. Where do you want to make the point of contact? You want to make the issue of morality, love, beauty, truth, goodness, logic, science? Where do you want to make the point of contact? At every point of contact, wherever you touch it, you're going to find an image bearer of God very angry with his creator. You're going to find a person that has worked very hard at making sophisticated arguments against God. And then when you just get to the bottom of it, you can display it absolutely refutes itself. All right, here's more.
I don't understand everything about her, but I do understand some things. So
okay,
with
so
that question,
what you're saying is
We have these things.
You require right. I agree. And see, I would
can't answer that.
I would
and
say
neither do I desire to answer.
Well, I would say what's interesting.
Standard.
What's interesting to show here, I think, for our listeners to listen to, is that you have Christians who would want to have a justification, some sort of a warrant